Welcome back to our study on Moses, God's faithfulness in the wilderness. You made it! You're done! You finished your homework. I hope you've learned a lot about Moses, but I hope that you also have learned about God's faithful character to his people during this time in the wilderness. Think back to your life when you started this study. Has God been whispering anything to your heart in these past few weeks? Has anything in your life changed? What kind of season have you been in? Has it been a desert or a wilderness, or maybe it's a joyous season? Maybe some exciting things are happening in your life. As we close out our session, I want you to think about what words God has been speaking to you throughout this study. What will you carry with you beyond the study? So I'm going to read from Rediscovering Israel by Christy McClellan, and she talks about finding your word in the wilderness. She says, I once heard a rabbi talk about how important it is for us to write during our desert seasons. All too often, when we are in a difficult time, we focus primarily on getting out of it. But this rabbi said, the question when you are in the desert is not, God, how do I get out of this desert? The question is, God, how do I carry the lessons of the desert with me? How do I not lose these things? God used the desert to forge and form his people as they were preparing to enter the land. If you're in a desert season, make it a priority to write. You don't want to forget the things God is showing you, the ways he's forming you, and the deposits he is forging in you. You want to remember your Devar Bamidbar, your word in the wilderness. So write. We can be so quick to rush out of the desert, but sometimes we need God to faithfully walk with us for 40, 50, even 60 years. Instead of asking, how do I get out of this? Let's practice asking, how do I carry the lessons of the desert with me? So let me ask you, how do you carry the lessons that you've learned throughout this study with you, regardless of whatever season of life you're in? Has it changed you at all? What have you learned about the Lord that you want to remember? Has he been speaking to your heart? Maybe he's challenged you in a way to share a story with somebody else. He writes these stories in our lives, not just for us to write down and keep in a journal to ourselves. It's for us to remember and then take them out and share them with somebody else. God's writing a story in my life. I don't have all of the pieces together. I'm certainly in a wilderness desert season right now as we wait to see what God does with my husband and his next job and role. But I can tell you that as I've studied scripture, as I've spent time in his word, remembering, it so encourages me of the faithfulness of our God. I know our God can do anything. I know his timing is perfect, and I know he takes care of his people. And do you remember that phrase? Is the Lord's arm too short? I know that God has resources beyond what I can imagine, and I know he's faithful. So that's something I want to remember going out of this study. I always want to remember God's faithfulness, how he carried his people, and how he is also faithful to me as well. I hope you've enjoyed our study. I hope you take time to remember, to write down, and to carry it with you, and share it with somebody else. Don't keep everything to yourself. God has written that story in your life on purpose. So go out and shine the light of Jesus into the world.